Hi, welcome back to the 7Sage LSAT podcast. It's Alex. I'm joined by Bailey. Say hi, Bailey.
What's up? My favorite place to be, the 7 Sage
Uh,
podcast.
yeah. We're coming to you under I'd say unique and difficult circumstances in light of the Los Angeles wildfires. So we're recording. We thought there's some stuff that we could and should talk about in light of that and the way that it affects our students, ourselves, and just other stuff. So we'll get into that. We're going to link it to the LSAT. Don't worry about that.
Yeah,
But
we're going to talk all about the LSAT. You know us.
but but we're putting this out a bit quicker than we usually do. So we're trying to get something together ASAP. Neither of us are in our homes right now. We'll talk about that. And yeah, it's tough. But we thought that I know we have a lot of students who in LA who are probably going through very similar things. And if you don't live in LA, you might live somewhere else where at some point you're going to go through something like this. A lot of people go through things like this while they're studying for the LSAT or doing something else. So we just thought it would be a good opportunity to talk about that. I guess we can just give you a little context. Really, do you want to talk about what your last week has been like? I guess it's been exactly a week since.
Oh my God, that's so true. That's crazy.
Feels like a
Because we
year.
weren't going to record the podcast last Tuesday, but we were going to have another meeting, which is actually exactly where my story starts, because I was having the best day on Tuesday last week. I literally was chilling. I didn't have any meetings until 11, and then I was hanging out. Find out around 10:30 that my 11 a.m. meeting gets canceled, thanks to Alex. And I was so happy. And I was like, this is a great day. I'm just going to hang out. Now, I had seen the high wind warnings the night before. I knew there was going to be a fire somewhere, but I didn't know where. And then literally right around that same time that my meeting got canceled, and I was like, this is the best day of my life. I start hearing sirens, and I was like, oh no. And so I Google fire near me. Nothing comes up.
To be clear, Bailey lives in the Pacific Palisades.
I
Which is
lived in
where,
the Pacific Palisades. Yes.
well, yeah, spoiler.
Spoiler. That's how the story
Yeah,
ends. It's sad.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, so literally right next to me was where the fire started. I mean, a little bit higher up. It was like in the Highlands, but it was so close and I just had no idea. And so like start hearing sirens. I just assumed that like if there's a big fire, it just shows up on Google, and like nothing showed up. So I spend about 5 minutes doing my research, and then I'm just like, I'm fine. It's whatever. So I keep going about my day. Like I really think it's just a normal day. And then finally, like there was more commotion or something. And at some point, I don't know if the first time that I went outside was like when I was on FaceTime with you, but at some point I know I was on FaceTime with you, and I was like, holy,
You're showing
this
me
is
the
bad.
sky.
And it was
Yeah,
crazy. And you were like half comprehending what was going on. It was good.
yeah.
And then all of a sudden it was like evacuation alerts, and we had to get out of there fast. And I grabbed a good amount of my stuff, but not everything. Packed in my car, literally sat in traffic for 2 hours just trying to get a mile from my house. The sky kept changing like every 2 seconds. You had no idea if like you're going to be able to get out with your car and stuff. A ton of people just left their cars. I don't know if you saw that. They had to bulldoze them. It was crazy. I did not stop shaking for 2 days. And then I found out that my place did not make it, which was really sad. But the whole community was gone, like
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. It's really devastating. Yeah, I grew up in LA. We have always had wildfires, but it's never been anything remotely close to this. And I grew up in the foothills, like around where there were fires. I grew up around Pasadena, which is where the second big fire is. And it's just devastated. My home is thankfully okay. But it's just many people I grew up with, people I know since then. Obviously, Bailey have lost their homes, and it's really hard to comprehend. We're sending our support to any of you listening in LA who've been affected, and we're actively trying to come up with some way to support our students in LA. And right now, things are changing really quickly. We want to get this podcast out as quickly as possible. So we have some ideas. We're not exactly sure how that's going to take shape, but by the time we post it, we might have figured something out. But for the time being, we have posted a just sort of questionnaire for people just to understand how many people we have in LA who were affected, so we can kind of consider how to best support them. So if you were affected, there should be a post on the 7Sage discussion board that will be pinned, so you can access it there. There'll also be an annoying pop-up if your IP address is in LA with my face on it.
I was gonna say, whose face are we using? It's yours.
It's
okay,
my face.
I love when I go on the website and I find out that I'm the pop-up.
You're messaging
for some
them.
random thing. I'm like, what?
Yeah. So we are so we're trying to figure out the best way to support people, and part of that is kind of thinking, well, let's put a podcast out about it. We both were personally. I mean, Bailey was obviously much more profoundly impacted than I was, but just
so are you.
living.
I had to evacuate.
Yeah. It's just so everyone understands. It's like the smoke. I left on Wednesday, I believe, and
I think so. Yeah.
the smoke around my house was just like unlike anything. I've been in wildfires before. I've like lived through smoke, like
Same.
for many years, but this was just a different story. And so I've just been bopping around for a week. You've been home at where you grew up in Colorado.
Yes, in Colorado. The cold, my
colder.
Favorite. So much colder.
Yeah. But yeah, we just wanted to talk to all of you. I mean, so something to just reflect on is, one, I think the way that we can kind of link this back is, how do you deal with major disruptions or life events when, the LSAT is a long process, and it almost I gotta be honest, it feels weird to be talking about the fire and then be like, let's shift gears to the LSAT.
Let's connect the LSAT.
But at the same time, it's like, it's kind of like, when I think about it, I'm like, well, that's sort of the way that I can help in this moment is to give some perspective. Like, that's the way that we can help. I mean, there's many ways we can help, right? But like, we know that there are people who are studying for this test whose lives and homes have been threatened or destroyed. And those people need our help and support right now. And so, something that I think would be really valuable is just giving some insight, giving some just empathy and, whatever. So although it feels jarring for me to go back and forth between how do we link this to the LSAT, I guess this is me talking to me right now. I do think we're providing a valuable service by doing that. So when we think about the LSAT, it's a long process. It usually lasts longer than people think, and you're likely to experience something that you didn't anticipate during that time. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be the destruction of your home necessarily, but like it could be, and yeah, but it could be, the death of someone close to you. It could be some really, really, really traumatic things. And so I think, it's important to think about just like how to deal with that. And I don't know, the first thing that comes to mind, is just have empathy for yourself, have patience.
That was mine. Why'd you take it? That's literally exactly what my first thought was.
Take it away. Go ahead.
It.
No, I've been talking a lot. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, because like that's my first advice now. My self that's gone through therapy and learned a lot of things. I was not good at that at all, especially when I was taking the LSAT. Like, honestly, my LSAT studying was a lot of the process that I learned to be kind to myself, and that you can't beat yourself up for like a blip in the, or what is it, like an obstacle in the road or whatever it is. Like you just, things happen. You can't control it. You can only control what you control. Even if you get to a point in your LSAT progress where you're like, I screwed myself over, like this really is my fault. It's okay. I have plenty of those too. Like, you just keep going, right? But the very first thing that you need to do to keep going is just meet yourself with grace and empathy and just be like, that's valid. I get it. Like, of course you're going to be feeling that way.
The other thing is just like, this is less of a priority than your life and your family's lives and and so if you need to just forget about I guess it's not if you do need to, there are moments like this where you do need to forget about it. You should not be thinking about the LSAT, just as like when we realized what was going on for you, it was like, you don't need to be thinking about the class this year's supposed to teach today. Like,
we figured that
and
out
also
later.
sorry.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
Side note on that, we
Well,
did
it's
push back
confusing.
some classes. I genuinely thought I was going to be able to teach. I thought I was just going to go to my friend's house, teach, and then come back to my house at night, which is crazy because like
we did not anticipate any of this.
We had no idea. I'm so sorry about the live class schedule.
Yeah, so we did cancel more live classes than we like to, which is we don't like to cancel any live classes. So usually we don't have to, but so hopefully you understand the circumstances. It's because of the fire. Anyways, I was about to say, if you don't understand, I don't know what to tell you.
No, we know what to tell you. You're going to write a very strongly worded email, get all of your thoughts out in an email, and you know who you're going to address it to? Yourself. And you're going to send it.
No, I'm sure everyone understands, because we have a lot of great students who have really shown a lot of support to you.
No, they've been great.
It's been really amazing. So anyways, I don't know where we were. A lot of tabs open at one time. But the first thing you need to do is forget about this. If you're experiencing something like this, or something just like that's traumatic in whatever way, like you need to take care of you first. And something about this test that we see all the time, even in sort of non-traumatic circumstances, is people putting an artificial time pressure on themselves. I need to get this done by this time. I need to go to school by this time, which, listen, those are all big decisions, but for the most part, you have more flexibility than you think. And I say that from experience, because when I was taking this test, neither of us ended up going to law school, right?
We both were like, we have to be in law school by this time. Otherwise, my life is going to be ruined. And that's just never true.
And for all of you at home, most of you are going to go to law school, but what I would tell you is just you have more flexibility than you think. Like that it's just in the most like normal of circumstances. I say, like, in 10 years, you're not going to care if you went to law school 1 year earlier or 1 year later. It doesn't, right? And so particularly when you're experiencing something that just completely disrupts your life, like, take some time off. It is okay. It is important. That's the first thing.
Agreed. Because I could totally see my past self, like, being in the situation, still studying for the LSAT. Like, my initial first thought would have been like, oh no, I just lost a whole study day. And it's like, no, that is all okay. In the grand scheme of things, one day, it is all okay. Even if it's like months, it is all okay.
100%. The other thing I would say is, like, you should, like, for myself, a lot of in situations like this, I'll try and go halfway. So I'll be like, I'm going to take some time for me, half time for me and half work. And that's fine. Sometimes you have to do that. But sometimes it's like, okay, that just means the quality of both of those things are way worse. Last week it was like, oh, I'm not able to work at the same level of efficiency as I normally do. I need to be like driving to different places, doing different things, but I'll work in the interim. And that worked for a couple of days. And then on Friday, I was like, I'm doing really bad job at work and at life. So I need to take the day off to so
I can at least do good at life. Yeah. Let's just focus on the only thing that matters.
Right. And so whatever that is for you, like, if you're in a deeply upsetting experience, time, whatever, there might be a time where sort of half-assing it is not like, take the time to actually take care of yourself, and then recommit yourself when you're ready.
Never half-ass two things, full-ass one thing.
100%. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I always get frustrated with myself, like, why didn't I just take the time to enjoy, not in this circumstance, but like when I'm trying to sort of like get like have fun while also doing something hard. I'm like, just do one or the other. And here it's like, just like take care of yourself and then get back to the test. But yeah. What
Agreed.
else? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's hard because that was like so much of my main advice. It's just like, I think so many people right now are probably freaking out, and they really had this idea of exactly how their LSAT journey was going to go, or exactly how things were going to look. And it's just like, it's okay. Things happen. It's just going to look a little
It's
bit
okay.
different. So I guess the next
Yeah.
step after like taking some time off is just kind of revising your study plan, maybe figuring out like big picture overall, what's it going to look like for me to set myself up for the best success possible. And honestly, like
Yeah.
if you're looking at a longer timeline right now, that could genuinely be a leg up at admissions. Like you could be applying to the same schools, but earlier in the cycle, better score, application more put together. Like that's awesome. That's a benefit.
Yeah.
So start thinking big picture.
Totally.
When is it going to make sense for me to actually take this test? When does it make sense for me to apply all of this stuff? And we got classes for that.
100%.
So I was going to plug study plan workshop, as you can probably tell.
Please go ahead.
Study plan workshop happens. How often does it happen these days? It's like once every 3 weeks, but it's on Wednesdays. We have a nice free class slot every Wednesday. So come to that. Yeah. I give that class to make sure that people have just the ability to build out their own study plans. But we've probably talked about it on the podcast before.
We can add another few of them, at least for the coming weeks for sure. So just look at the schedule. Yeah. We'll try and maybe I'll try and just put one for the next 4 weeks or something.
That's a good idea, actually, because people were already asking in live class for more study plans. So
yeah. The other thing I would say is, like again, the hierarchy of needs. On the hierarchy of needs, Maslow's hierarchy, the LSAT doesn't actually show up, and so I'm sure you could fit it into a category
really? I'm
somewhere.
Confused. I swore that when I learned that LSAT was the top tier.
Yeah. But just remember that, food and shelter and those things are still going to come first, even if you're like in a safe place. If you went through something, you still got to remember that. Like even when you're ready to come back, it's like it still is like, just keep it in perspective. If it takes you a little bit to get back in the saddle, like, yeah, of course it is. It of course it will. Of course you should expect that, and you should continue to have. Here's the thing: the advice we're giving now, it's really advice that you can take at any time. Like, have empathy with yourself, have patience. Like, you don't have to. I mean, it's a shame that you have to oftentimes have to go through something like this to for that to be hammered home. But like, here's the thing: if you're listening to this and you're in, I don't know, Idaho or somewhere where you aren't experiencing anywhere besides here, the lessons still apply. There are things that are more important than this. Have patience, have empathy, like, so yeah. But
yeah,
when you're ready to shift back in, definitely this test is best done with a plan, and your plan will have changed. To what extent, I don't know, right? But it might be. But do not be afraid to push this back. Like, please, like it's you do yourself a disservice when you rush this, right? And I don't know, you just see it so many times of people just like allowing this time pressure to, it leads them to just getting worse results. So,
right. I mean, take it from me. I took the test 4 times. Would I ever go back and tell my past self, oh, I'm so glad that you took it that first time, or I'm so glad you took it that second time before you knew you were ready? I'm so glad that you just signed up for it that third time, even though you knew you weren't practice testing where you wanted to be. No, I would have never told myself that. But in the moment, of course, you just convince yourself other things. You're bored. You're sick of doing the process. I was just over it for a lot of it.
Yeah,
and so
it's a really hard message to take when you're in it. Like, I've kind of accepted that almost no one heeds our advice when they're like, I know I'm not ready, but I just want to take it. Like, no,
I know.
Like, I just having been through
I'm
it,
stubborn too. I didn't take the advice.
Just people don't want to take the advice. They just say like, well, I just want to see what it's like. And I've come around to the place where I'm like, okay, I guess that's just like such a strong human impulse that like, I'm not going to fight you. I get it. I will just say, like, taking the actual test, it's the same test that you've been taking on PTs. You don't need to pay for it and sit.
It's a really expensive PT if that's what you're looking for. Yeah.
In order to just experience it, you should just take it when you're ready. But I also know it's really hard to do that. So, whatever. Yeah. If you have taken the test 3 times in similar circumstances to what Bailey did, great. So most people go through some sort of process like that. If you haven't, just take our advice. There's an easier way to do this, which is just wait till you're ready. Wait till you're ready, very simply.
Exactly. How do you know you're ready?
When we say that, you're PTing at or above, or actually slightly above where you want to be. So yeah. what else? I mean, the other thing is, I mean, I feel like we talk about this every time, but I feel like this has really hammered home for me the value of like community in
Oh,
this.
yeah.
I mean, maybe you can
Yeah.
speak to just like the way that people have, because I feel like our students have really, you know, I mean, 7Sage also, but like our students have really supported you, you know?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I've just been so grateful during this time period to the extent that like it's such a big life altering, like walls closing in on you, feeling like the world is ending almost sort of situation objectively. But I haven't felt like the world is ending or that I'm totally alone in any of this because people have just come together and it's been so nice. Like I feel like there is a lot of hope for the future. Everybody's just, I don't know, it's so helpful. And like literally I could not possibly have, I don't know. I wouldn't even be able to like have come back to work if the people were not being as good and understanding. And
Yeah,
it's
100%.
just good to be humans and go through these things together. So whether that's like a big thing like this, big disaster, or it's just studying for the LSAT, and that's also like, it feels like a freaking wildfire sometimes. Like it's hard,
Yeah,
community makes it
totally.
so much better.
Yeah, and 7Sage is like is a great place for that, and in particular live class.
Great.
Like there's
So many
just
genuine people. Like I feel like I don't
Yeah.
encounter many non-genuine people. Everybody is just so human and really does care.
Yeah, it's I certainly was. Community was kind of the last thing I was looking for when I was studying for this test. I was like, I want to be totally on my
Same.
own. I don't want to be perceived. I just want to be
Same.
and and it was fine, but like being on the other side of it, I just see how helpful it is for people. Just see how like how much they get from the people who are studying around them. So especially if you've been impacted by these events or similar or whatever it is for you, like look for that community because it's being alone with these things makes them just amplifies them in whatever way. So yeah. Yeah. What else? Anything else come to mind?
I don't know. Literally all that I can think about right now. Do you want to know what's genuinely coming to mind? I got a stupid ass charge like during this meeting. I got charged for my Wi-Fi. They can't be plugged in right now. Like my Wi-Fi at my house that doesn't exist anymore. What the hell?
We're going to take care of that.
Spectrum.
We're going to take care of that. I actually this morning got a fraudulent charge. I got a text that I owed a toll. And I actually just went through a toll road on the way to Orange County. And so I just sort of like, without thinking about it, paid.
Wait, thank you for saying that actually, because I just remembered that I owe some tolls.
Anyways, I paid a toll and then without even looking at it because it was like a $6 charge. And I was like, well, I was just on a toll road. That's what this is. And then I looked at the top and it said Massachusetts tolls. And I was like, wait, what?
That's not me.
And then I looked it up and it was fraudulent, so I had to cancel my card. And
oh God,
it's
okay,
fine.
I should be paying attention.
It's fine. The charge didn't even go through.
Couldn't be that bad. Yeah. Okay. Good.
The charge didn't even go through. I canceled the card, and it's fine. But I guess it's like it's these things are also hard because any other number of other like just the normal bullshit that accompanies life like doesn't stop. So
right.
it
That's
certainly
so
doesn't
true.
help.
Right. It's like there's a fire, but also somebody could still have my card in Massachusetts right now, I guess. Like
right,
whatever.
Right. There's a fire, but you better believe Spectrum bill's gotta be paid.
Yeah. What's that? I'm so confused. I guess I should because now that I'm thinking about it, my property manager was also like, you need to call and like make sure that like gas and water is all turned off too. And I'm like,
yeah,
I just assume that it just stops, but can't assume anything.
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't stop. But I mean, I hope that this is definitely like a sort of non-traditional podcast. As you can tell, we're talking a bit more about, I don't know, I guess we've started talking more about our personal lives in general. My philosophy with this is like, if I was studying for the LSAT, what I would want to hear is about, like, I enjoy getting to know people over podcasts. And so hopefully that
Right.
is useful for you all. And this was like, maybe it seems like an abnormal topic, but it's an abnormal time. So I hope it's helpful for everyone. Yeah, we are thinking of ways to give back. We don't have anything to support our LA students. We don't have anything concrete right now. We will in the coming days. But what I will say is, like, if you need support, like, our doors are open.
Just tell
We're trying to
us.
come up
Yeah.
with a concrete, like, way to open to anyone who's affected by it. But, like, if you're a subscriber or not, whatever, you can reach out. We're human beings. You can find our emails. It's our names at at 7sage.com
There's a dot in the middle of it.
with a period in between our first and last name. Yeah. And just reach out. I think at 7Sage we're pretty, like, we care. No matter what the
I was
circumstances
like,
are.
where are we going with this? What are we at 7Sage? We're smart.
care.
We're fun. We care.
Yeah.
And-
Yeah. So that it's always like, just please reach out in class, out of class, or wherever. Like, if you need support because of the current circumstances, or really honestly at any time, like,
literally, just tell us.
Just let us know. We'll have more information about, like, a concrete plan in the coming days. In the meantime, do go to the discussion board, fill out that survey if you were affected, and you can expect more information soon. Other than that, I don't know. Do you have anything to add? Anything else we wanted to touch on?
Mine is blank.
Good. That's how you should
That's
approach
actually
this
nice.
test.
No, my mind is rarely ever actually genuinely blank. I wish I could do that, but exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And again, I mean, it is just something to reflect on, that, like, everything we talked about in here is really useful all the time. Like, if you are taking this test, like, guess what? Like, you don't need to have been through a fire to say, like, maybe I need the day off. Like, you don't need to have had something, like, you don't need to have a life-altering event to reassess your study plan. Okay?
Headphone fell out.
You don't need, like, a life-altering event to reassess your study plan. Like, just like, it's like, all of these things are good advice no matter what. So
that's true.
Let that sink in. I think that's about it that I had, planned to talk about. Anything else you want to say?
I think so too. I don't know. I'm trying to think if I even have anything else funny to say. I have nothing.
That's okay.
That's okay.
I guess ultimately, just, like, our hearts go out to any of you who were affected, and the loved ones of yours who, or friends or family who were affected. My heart goes to Bailey, who just lost her home. Yes.
Thank you. And my heart goes out to everybody else as well. We're in it together.
Yeah. And I love the city of LA. I don't want to start crying. But
I know.
It really
Same.
it's been my home for my whole life, and I'm extremely proud to be from LA, and I always will be. And I know that things are going to come back in a different way, but, like,
Me too.
the city that we love isn't going anywhere, and the people in it aren't either. So that's all we have.
True.
But thank you for listening, and you'll hear more from us in the coming days, and that's about it. Yeah.
Yes. Potentially after this podcast, you'll hear some other podcasts that were very clearly recorded before this one.
Yes. We've got a back catalog that are going to be about, like, New Year's Day.
Right. Yeah. Just pretend.
Hey, just bear with us.
Yeah.
So, apologies, we don't have our mics, we don't have our cameras.
Yeah, I was going to say that at the beginning of this. If any of the quality is bad,
that's probably going to be the deal for a bit, because we're not in our homes. Ways, hang in there. We're sending our love to all of you, and we'll talk to you soon. Yeah?
Yeah. Peace.
Bye.
Thank you.